All right, can the US government search my social media and my phone? That is a big question right now because it is happening everywhere at the borders and at the US consulates. So watch this video because I'm going to go into exactly what is going on, who it affects, even US citizens, and what can you do about it and what are your rights. Let's go. Hi, and thank you for joining me to talk U.S. immigration. My name is Andrea Shev, if you don't know me already, and I'm a U.S. immigration attorney, and I've been doing it for over 20 years. And I put together this YouTube channel to give you clear, concise, and easy to understand information about all different topics related to U.S. immigration. But in this video, we are going to talk about the U.S. borders and the consulates and all these other places that are now searching people's cell phones, even US citizens. So in this video, I'm going to break down what's going on in the border searches, what's going on at the consulates, your social media, and what are the visa consequences if you have social media issues on your phone, and what are your rights? What are your rights at the borders and the consulates? And what do you need to know? Because do you know people are even being denied because they have posts in their social media from friends, not even their posts, but friends' posts? We're going to get into it and you're going to get all the information you need to know exactly what's going on and what you need to be aware of because they're looking at your phones. Let's start at the beginning and explain exactly what the law actually allows. So the Customs and Border Protection agents at the border can search your electronic devices at any U.S. port of entry without any kind of warrant. That means without any kind of documentation from a court requiring them or allowing them to look at your phones. So they can look at them wherever they want when you're entering the country. Now, there's two levels of looking at your phone. The first level is a basic level of just turning on your phone and browsing through it. The second level usually comes about because they suspect something, and that is an advanced search, where they will use forensic tools to extract data from your phone. All right, so you need to understand that there's two levels. Sometimes they might just look through your phone, and sometimes they might take it to a more advanced search. Now, who can be searched? Well, it applies to everybody now. It applies to visa holders, it applies to green card holders, and it even applies to US citizens. They are now searching phones of everybody, not everyone who comes through, but a lot of people that are coming through will be subject to having their cell phones being searched and their social media being looked at in greater detail than before. So what are they looking for? Well, they're looking for suspicious content, evidence of possible fraud, national security concerns, and anything that would cause them to believe that letting you into the country is not a good idea. So they're looking pretty wide scope of what they're looking for on your phone, but it's all really directed at illegal activity or security issues that may be caused by letting you into the country. If you refuse a search, what happens? Well, if you refuse the search, or you don't allow them the passcode, right, your password to get into your social media, they might detain you, they might deny your entry, and they might seize your device. So you have to understand that if you refuse the search, they're not going to be like, okay, just go home. Or they might just not be like, okay, forget it then, you can come into the country. No. They're going to likely detain you, deny your entry, and possibly take your phone from you. Now, also, if you deny them looking at your cell phone, right away that adds a suspicion level. So if already they were just doing a basic look at your phone and then you say, no, you can't look at my phone or I'm not going to give you my passwords, that's obviously going to escalate their curiosity and their suspicion that there is something going on. So you really do not want to refuse the search if you would like to get into the country and you have nothing to hide. Now, US citizens can't be denied re-entry into the US, but they do face delays if they refuse to give passwords or they refuse the allowance of them allowing them to look at the phone. Okay, that's at the borders, but at the US consulates abroad, the consular officers are definitely looking closer at people's social media handles. Now, this all started when Trump was in office last time. He added the questions to the DS-160 and the DS-260 asking for all social media handles, and you have to disclose all your handles on those applications. So that's where this started. Now, there's just been a heightened level to this ever since his administration has taken office in January. So what do they review and what do they look at? Well, they're looking at posts, comments, likes, affiliations, flagged content, all of it. They're looking at what you're doing in your social media, not just what your posts are. They're looking for language and associations that may raise red flags, like jokes about terrorism or fraud. They're looking for keywords related to violence, politics, terrorism, fraud, drugs. They're looking for things that will give them suspicion that they need to look closer. They're looking at images with weapons, protests that you were involved in or that you're supporting, controversial flags and symbols, comments on others and interaction on different pages and labels and extremists or watch listed people or affiliations with organizations that are watch listed. They're looking at content that appears to conflict with your visa type. So be very careful with that. If you're a student coming in and you have all these pictures on your social media of you partying and being drunk and doing things, then if you're applying for an F1 visa, they might be like, is this person really serious about studying in the United States? Or are they just coming here to party and have fun? I know this is all shocking, and we're going to keep on going through this because you need to know this information. But remember, when you apply for a visa, you don't necessarily have rights at that moment. They make a subjective determination based on what they see. Added to their list of items that they're looking for when they are deciding if they're going to give you the visa or not, they've added to that your social media. They want to see what you're doing because our lives nowadays are so wound up in social media. People put so much on social media that allows them another avenue to get the information they need to make that subjective decision. Be aware also that the officers don't always get the jokes, right, on your social media. So be very careful about the type of jokes you are putting on your social media because officers all have different personalities. They have different levels of understanding of different types of satirical jokes or jokes that you put out there. So be very careful because they're looking at those jokes and they might not interpret them the same way you are. Okay? You are also responsible for friends' content. Yes, I really said that. You are responsible for what your friends put on their social media. So be very, very careful. Even if you haven't liked or commented, just being connected could cause a problem. So if they tag you and you're connected to it, even though you didn't like it or do anything with it, you might be subject to an issue because that post that they had is something that's going to raise suspicion. They might interpret online affiliations as endorsements of dangerous or extremist views, even if they're not. So you have to be very aware of what affiliations you have online and what endorsements you're giving to different things that you might not think are extreme, but could be interpreted as something that could be a danger to the United States. Be careful. You may be denied entry or lose a visa just because a friend posted something and tagged you. Be very careful. Okay, so what are your rights? Well, everyone's screaming about, oh, I have all these rights. They can't do this. They can't do this. They can't do this. Well, I hate to tell you, you don't have a lot of rights at the border, and you don't have a lot of rights when you're applying for a visa at a consulate abroad. So you have to really bring that back and understand that you are at the mercy of the officer that's letting you into the country, and you're at the mercy of the officer that's making the determination of giving you or granting you a visa or not, or permanent residence or not. You have to understand that you do not have the rights that you think maybe you have at these two locations. All right? Now, you have limited privacy rights, especially if you're a non-citizen. You don't have many rights at all to your privacy. And the First Amendment rights don't apply the same way to non-citizens trying to enter the US as they do to citizens. I'm going to repeat that. Your First Amendment rights don't apply the same way to non-citizens trying to enter the US as citizens. Expressing political views, criticizing US policies, or showing sympathy to controversial causes can be used against you. Okay? Let me repeat that. Expressing political views, criticizing US policies, or showing sympathy to controversial causes can and will be used against you. With social media, be honest and consistent across all your platforms, okay? And assume everything is fair game. Don't try to hide or delete accounts. Everything on your phone is fair game. If you hide or delete accounts and you go for a more detailed analysis with forensic software that they're going to use, they're going to find it. So make sure that you keep in mind that even if you delete or hide a post, they still might see it. All right, all this I'm saying is very scary, and it feels very intrusive, and it feels very nerve-wracking. So what can you do? The best practices is clean up your digital footprint before traveling or applying for a visa or a green card at a consulate abroad. Don't joke about anything that can be misunderstood or misinterpreted by someone else. You can't just look through it through the eyes of what you see. You have to look at it through the eyes of what others would interpret that possibly as. Tell your friends not to tag you in their political controversial posts. Ask them, please don't tag me into what you're talking about or what you believe in. I don't want anything to do with that. So tell them, don't tag me. Avoid joining questionable groups or pages. And if in doubt, delete it or don't post it. Like if you feel like that could be looked at in the wrong way, don't post it. Don't put it there. Don't open yourself up to a possibility of being or having an issue at the consulate. Use privacy settings, but don't rely on them. All right, so what happens if you're searched or you're denied entry? Well, the best thing you can do is contact an immigration attorney, myself or another immigration attorney, and get legal advice of what your next steps should be. Try in the situation, and this is a big, huge point that you need to remember. If you are denied entry at the border, or you're at a consulate and you're denied entry and they did a deep dive into your phone, into your social media, you can try to have a conversation with the officer politely, not aggressively, to see what actual posts or what was the reasoning for them denying your entry into the US or denying your visa. You're not always going to get that information, but sometimes officers will be pretty frank with you and tell you, hey, you know what? There was a specific post by you, or I see you're affiliated with a specific organization, and they'll tell you that is why they denied your entry into the US. That information is golden when trying to figure out how to get you back into the United States for an immigration attorney. The more information that we have about what exactly went on at the border or at the visa interview, the better chance we're going to be able to figure out how to fix that issue. Okay, there's always the ability to get a FOIA request, which is a Freedom of Information Act request from the government to try to see what the reasoning was. But they have the right to redact or cross out, so you can't see a lot of the information in those reports. And if it's definitely dealing with national security that you were not denied, we're not going to be able to see it on those FOIA reports. The FOIA reports are really hard to get information that we really need, because they have a right to, like I said, redact and get rid of a lot of critical information that would be helpful for us in helping you make a determination of what the reason was. So better for you to be assertive but polite with the officer, either at the border or at the consulate, and ask them, can you explain to me a little bit better why I'm being denied? Was there a specific reason on my phone? Was there a specific post? Was there something that you saw? Can you please just let me know, because I really would like to know, and I would like to be able to correct that or maybe clarify that in the future. So that's the best advice I can give you if you're searched and you're then denied either entry or you're denied a visa because you believe it was because of the search of your phone. Your phone and social media say more than you ever will believe or think, and the US government is listening. Thank you so much for watching. I know this freaked you out probably a little bit, but I think it's so important that you all have this information before you go now, especially into a US visa interview, or you're approaching and stepping inside the United States. Those 2 points of entry are critically important, that you are aware and knowledgeable about what they are possibly going to do with your phone if they ask to see it. Also know that when you put your social handles on your DS-160 or your DS-260 when applying for permanent residency or applying for a visa, that will open them to go look without even having your phone at your social media. So just because no one took the phone physically from you, it does not mean that they're not looking at your social media. Take care. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Comment below if any of you have experienced this at the border or at the consulate so we can help each other know different things that are happening out there in different scenarios. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to watch all my other videos, subscribe, like, and comment, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.